Most people begin their day under the same illusion, that reality is solid, fixed, unchangeable. They believe it runs on gears of hard work, dumb luck, and endless repetition. To get something, you grind, or you're born with it. That's the myth we've been sold. But underneath that myth is something else, an invisible matrix of pure possibility, a vast, shimmering field of energy where everything that could ever happen already exists, and the only thing it's waiting for is a clear enough signal. Reality, as it turns out, doesn't just happen to you. It happens through you. Most people never realize this, and even fewer ever learn to use it. The idea that we live inside a quantum sea of potential might sound abstract, like spiritual poetry with no place in the real world. But this isn't mysticism, this is physics. This hidden field isn't something out there, it is you. Your consciousness is constantly flowing through it, shaping it, warping it, bending it back toward you like light through a lens. Every thought, every feeling, every breath you take is a transmission. And this field, like an antenna tuned to your personal frequency, responds with uncanny accuracy. What you call the outside world isn't really external at all. It's a reflection, a live feedback loop of your internal state. But here's the catch. Most people are broadcasting scrambled signals. They try to change their lives by repeating affirmations they don't believe, by visualizing outcomes that feel fake, or by slapping positivity on top of suppressed tension. That's not alignment, that's interference. The quantum field doesn't react to what you say. It tunes into the full broadcast of your being. Words are surface ripples, but underneath, your breath, your posture, your subconscious patterns, these are the deep bass notes. That's the language the field hears loudest. That's the signal it responds to with eerie precision. Learning to engage this field doesn't start with mystical rituals or decoding quantum equations. It starts with awareness, a simple shift in how you perceive what's already happening. Watch what happens when your mood shifts, how one anxious thought can tilt an entire day, how a sudden calm can open doors that felt bolted shut, how moments of inner clarity ripple outward, smoothing chaos in ways that feel almost orchestrated. These aren't coincidences, they're feedback loops, and the cleaner your signal, the sharper the response. Stop trying to bend the world into shape. Start tuning your own frequency. What are you really broadcasting right now? Not the thoughts in your head, but the energy in your chest, the tightness in your back, the way your breath feels in your throat. Are you holding resistance or resting in presence? Most people skip this part. They leap into action, believing that movement equals momentum. But manifestation doesn't begin with doing. It begins with being. And when your internal state is aligned, your actions become lasers, not flashlights. Focused, effective, unmistakable. So no, raising your vibration isn't some esoteric leap. It's a return, back to stillness, back to awareness, back to presence. You don't need to perform. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to notice. Because in the quantum field, observation itself is influence. And when you observe yourself honestly, with softness instead of judgment, you start to reclaim your power, to rewrite reality from the inside out. So ask yourself, from what lens are you observing your life? Is it fear or faith, expansion or contraction? Because when your internal observer shifts, your outer reality follows like a shadow. This is why alignment isn't a mental exercise. It's emotional, physiological, energetic. The quantum field doesn't reflect what you wish for. It mirrors what you consistently live through your being, and science is finally catching up. Research shows that your heart, yes, your heart, generates an electromagnetic field far stronger than your brain's, and that field interacts directly with the quantum field surrounding you. When your heart and mind move in harmony, your signal becomes laser-focused, clear, magnetic, undistorted. This state is called coherence, not magic, measurable, not mythical, real. Coherence happens when your thoughts and emotions stop contradicting each other. When your beliefs align with your feelings, you become a finely tuned antenna. And in that precision, reality doesn't resist you. It responds. To shape the wave, consciously, deliberately, You must become the observer your desired timeline requires. Not just in thought, in state, because manifestation doesn't spring from logic. It springs from resonance. When your subconscious, your heartbeat, your breath, and your deepest expectations move in harmony, the quantum field doesn't hesitate. It reflects that frequency without question. The wave collapses not through pressure, but through clarity. You don't force reality into shape, you embody it into form. And once your observer sharpens, once your signal is locked in, you move beyond observation. You become. Because yes, observation collapses the wave, but embodiment, that's what sustains the new timeline. You weren't meant to stand at the window and admire a better life from behind the glass of good intentions. You were meant to walk through it. You weren't meant to admire the life you want. You were meant to enter it. And to do that, you must align with its frequency, not as a fantasy, as a way of being. This is the moment where manifestation stops being a theory and starts becoming your lived, breathing truth. Most people wait. They wait to feel wealthy until the money shows up. Wait to feel love once someone else offers it. Wait to feel health only after the symptoms are gone. But the quantum field doesn't answer to waiting. It responds to embodiment. To live the experience you desire, you must become its vibration before it arrives. That means feeling the emotion of your future, now, not later. When you think, feel, and act like the version of you who already lives that timeline, the field responds like it's already happened. Because energetically, it has. This isn't pretending. It's not role-playing. It's tuning into an existing frequency that was always available. Imagine reality as a vast orchestra. Every possible timeline is a different melody. If you want to hear a certain song, you don't shout at the band to play it. You tune your instrument, your thoughts, your emotions, your actions to match the key it's already playing in. Your thoughts are strings, your emotions are rhythm, your actions, the melody. And when all three align, the music of your future self begins to echo through your present. It doesn't require grand gestures. Generosity becomes a broadcast of abundance. Vulnerability becomes the gateway to love. Rest becomes a bold declaration. I am worthy. You shift timelines not by force, but by alignment. A single breath taken in deep presence. A kind thought infused with real intention. A small, courageous act that reflects who you're becoming. These aren't symbolic. They are the brushstrokes painting reality onto the canvas of the quantum field. Every choice you make is a vote for the version of reality you wish to inhabit. And this isn't new. Ancient wisdom has always known. As your awareness of the field deepens, a stranger truth begins to surface. Reality doesn't form on its own. It forms through your observation, that infinite sea of quantum possibility. It only becomes something when you interact with it. When you look, feel, expect, and believe. This is where ancient mystics and modern physicists nod in eerie agreement. The quantum world holds every outcome, but none of them become real until you collapse them with attention. Reality is not a structure. It's a fluid mirror shaped by the one watching. And the one watching is you, but not just your conscious mind, not the voice in your head repeating mantras. The field listens deeper, to the layers you rarely hear. Your subconscious mind, that silent engine beneath awareness, is the true observer. It never sleeps. It holds your unspoken stories, your early wounds, your reflexive expectations of how life tends to go. You might consciously say, I am abundant. But if your subconscious is still rehearsing fear, still scanning for lack, then that's the signal the field receives. You may say you trust, but if your body is tight with anticipation of loss, the field echoes that tension. This is why manifestation often feels like sabotage. You're speaking one reality, but you're being another. Understanding the observer effect requires more than knowing the theory. It demands self-honesty. What do you quietly expect when no one's watching? Do you want love but brace yourself for rejection? Do you crave freedom but anticipate another dead end? Each moment of quiet expectation is a micro-observation. Each one sends a ripple through the quantum field, and that ripple either draws your vision closer or deepens the trench you're trying to crawl out of. This is the brutal elegance of quantum manifestation. It doesn't respond to volume, it responds to coherence. Not how much you want, but how deeply you're aligned with what wants to happen through you. You become what you behold, the mystics whispered, but they weren't talking about gold or fortune. The ancient alchemists didn't chase external treasure, they transmuted their inner state, turning fear into faith, scarcity into sufficiency, density into light. Quantum manifestation follows the same law. It's not your world that transforms first. It's you. Shift your being, and what you're having begins to change on its own. The field doesn't resist this process, it was built for it. Becoming the frequency is the ultimate surrender. It's choosing to live as if, without needing proof. It's stepping into the role before the stage even exists. And here lies the most potent secret. When you stop trying to get and start practicing being, everything begins to move. Timelines bend, outcomes collapse into now. What once felt impossibly distant becomes strangely familiar. You're no longer trying to pull the future into existence. You're breathing life into what was always possible. But stepping into the frequency is just the beginning. Holding it, that's the test. And to hold it, you must let go. Let go of control. Let go of constant checking. Let go of the urge to measure how fast it's coming. After you've embodied the version of you who already has it, can you trust the process long enough for the field to respond? Most people can't. They slip back into old habits, trying to force reality, micromanaging outcomes, choking the very frequency they just tuned into. That grasping becomes static. It's not alignment, it's resistance, disguised as responsibility. You see, we've been conditioned to believe that only struggle creates value. That exhaustion is proof of worth, that surrender is weakness, and trust is naive. But in the quantum field, the opposite is true. The more you try to control, the more static you introduce into your signal. Micromanagement fractures resonance. Over-efforting weakens the wave. Clinging to outcomes only tells the field, I don't believe this is real. And the quantum field, faithful mirror that it is, responds accordingly. Control is not power, it is friction disguised as responsibility. A desperate effort to prove your worth through strain. You've been taught that value comes from sweat, that only through effort do you earn reward, that surrender is laziness, that trust is foolish. But in the quantum field, the inverse is true. The more you try to hold the outcome, the further it drifts. The more you chase the timeline, the more it slips out of reach. Because trying implies separation. Being implies arrival. Surrender, then, is not defeat. It's the clearest declaration of belief. These mental and emotional loops you hear in stillness, they're not random. They are echoes, reverberations of timelines lived over years, sometimes decades. And if left unchallenged, those echoes magnetize more of the same. Same reactions, same patterns, same outcomes. To manifest something different, the loop must be broken. And that begins not with force, but with conscious disruption. Disruption doesn't mean destruction. It means intervention, a subtle shift, a deliberate pause that interrupts the rhythm of the old and inserts a new frequency into the field. Understand this, your subconscious mind is addicted to familiarity. It will choose known discomfort over unknown peace, predictable pain over unpredictable possibility. So it builds emotional habits, quiet routines of thought and reaction. You might wake up anxious and not know why. You might sabotage good things, not because you don't want them, but because your nervous system hasn't caught up to the identity you're trying to step into. The field doesn't just respond to your highest vision, it responds to your daily default settings. So how do you change? You start by noticing. When fear rises, when scarcity or doubt arrives, pause. Don't react on autopilot. Create space. Even one conscious breath is disruption. It opens a crack in the old pattern. That space introduces choice, and choice is where power begins. Ask yourself, is this pattern aligned with the timeline I'm calling in? If it's not, don't fight it. Redirect with intention. Every time you choose awareness over reactivity, the pattern loses power. And as it weakens, the quantum field begins to reorient. This is reprogramming in action, not through massive overhaul, but through tiny, consistent signals that tell the field who you now are. If you desire abundance, take one small, generous act. If you want to feel confident, speak even if your voice trembles. If you want love, offer the kind you wish to receive. Those small, courageous acts, they speak in the one language the subconscious truly understands: lived experience. Beliefs don't change because you argued with them. They change because new behaviors prove them outdated. In ancient traditions, transformation was ritualized: a firewalk, a burial of the past, a ceremonial rebirth. Modern life rarely hands us those visible rites, but the essence remains. Every time you act against your old programming, you perform a sacred disruption. You declare to the field, I am no longer available for that frequency. That declaration doesn't need to be loud. It isn't performance, it's presence, quiet, steady, embodied, and the field listens. Disrupting the old pattern isn't about rejecting who you were. It's about making space for who you're becoming. That former version of you, it wasn't wrong. It was necessary. It protected you, adapted for you, carried you here. But now, it can rest, because a new identity is forming. One choice, one breath, one intention at a time. And as those micro-choices accumulate, your internal signal shifts, and the quantum field, ever precise, begins reshaping reality around that new rhythm. What once felt impossible starts to feel inevitable. Not through force, but through quiet transformation. And the moment you begin disrupting the pattern, you also begin writing a new self. Not built from your past, but sculpted from your present alignment. But this transformation can't just be a breakthrough moment. It can't live in peaks and disappear in valleys. For manifestation to root, the frequency must become a lifestyle. Living as the signal means making coherence your default, not just your occasional refuge. It's no longer a state you visit on good days. It becomes the way you move, the way you breathe, the way you live. The future you're calling in doesn't arrive by accident. It arrives by rhythm. And rhythm, in this context, means returning again and again to your chosen frequency. You stop relying on peak moments of insight to change everything. Instead, you cultivate a steady ritual of signal tuning, breath, emotional regulation, clear intention, aligned action. Just like a musician doesn't tune their instrument once and expect perfect pitch forever, you must recalibrate daily. Coherence isn't a destination, it's a returning. And every return strengthens your resonance with the life you're building. This rhythm lives most naturally in your body, because the body remembers what the mind so often forgets. A slumped posture may whisper defeat before you've said a single word. A clenched jaw may scream fear louder than any affirmation can counter. To live as the signal, you bring your body into the frequency. It's not a passive vessel, it's your transmitter. Walk, speak, eat, rest, work. And with each ask, is this how the version of me who already has it would move? You don't fake it. You become it, gradually, honestly, and somatically. Even your relationships begin to shift. Certain dynamics fall away, not because you changed them, but because you no longer resonate with them. Coherence attracts coherence. As you hold your vibration with integrity, others vibrating at that level begin to appear. You become a tuning fork, and your environment can't help but harmonize. This isn't chance, it's quantum mechanics. The field always organizes itself around the clearest, most stable signal in the space. And when you live as that signal, you don't just draw in new timelines, you elevate the entire field around you. But let's be clear, living as the signal does not mean perfection. Yes, doubt will still visit, the old self will knock. Fear may whisper from familiar corners, but your power is not in becoming untouchable. It's in learning how to return, You're not here to be unshakable. You're here to recalibrate with grace. The power isn't in never falling. It's in how you rise. And every rise begins with one breath, one conscious choice, one act of returning to your signal. Over time, that return becomes natural. Not because life stops testing you, but because your frequency becomes unbreakable. To live as the signal is to stop asking for permission. You no longer beg the world to show you it's safe to dream, to expand, to trust. You become the evidence. Every moment becomes a message to the quantum field. This is who I am now. And as always, the field reflects it back. That once distant timeline you only imagined, it starts to materialize. Not because you forced it, but because you matched it. Quantum manifestation isn't buried under complexity. It's breathtakingly simple. So simple, in fact, that the thinking mind resists it. But those who learn to regulate, to align, to embody, they discover something wild. Reality bends quicker than expected. Because you don't manifest through wishing, you manifest through being. And in that knowing, the path stops being something you chase and starts being something you live. So choose the signal, collapse the wave, become the observer, and reality will echo you back in ways no amount of force ever could.